Welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Today we're going to go over the major and minor scales. So these are the most common scales you're going to hear about or see in music theory. So let's go over formatting and building out a scale. So the reason you would build out a scale is to know which notes go together. Okay, so let's go over what is the definition of a scale. A scale is a sequence of notes which you like. That's it. It's just a sequence of notes which I like in that order. Different cultures have different scales. You know, not everybody uses our system of music. You know, Western music is different from music around the world. So you have to understand that. Now, our scales, we can simplify them so that we can memorize different whole tone and half tone formulas combined. And you're going to see patterns as we get into the videos and different concepts. So what is, I spelled minor way wrong, a minor scale in this case is just like the scale formulas and scale codes are just like the chord codes. We have to start on what's called a 0 point, a point of rest. I can close my eyes and I'm going to hit a key. And where am I at? F. So let's build out the minor scale using the minor scale code. Now I have to define what these mean. So the 0 point is the point of rest. It's where you start. It's the root note of a song. It's what's called the key of the song. And I'll show you what the key of the song means. So let me write a note just so I can define that once we map out the scale. So starting at F, that's our root note. We'll call this the root note. We'll call this the tonic. Okay, so these are all different names for the same thing. The home key, some people call it. Okay, so F, that's our home key, it's our tonic, it's our root note, it's our key of the song. Now, key of the song requires more of a definition, so it's more of an incomplete definition. But that's what that means. So it's a starting point. It's where we start. It's the 0 point of our scale code. Just like chord codes has a 0 point, a starting point, you have to start somewhere to build a scale. So we're going to start on F. Now the question is, what is W and what is H? So here's a quick lesson on what W and H means. W stands for whole tone. A whole tone is when you go up two keys on your keyboard. So for example, F, the whole tone from F would be 1, 2, would be G. That's a whole step. I said whole tone by accident. I meant to say whole step. My apologies. Whole step. That's a whole step. So you start on F, 1, 2. That's a whole step. Okay, it's 2. You go up 2 keys. That's pretty much it. 1, 2, whole step. Now a half step is when you go up 1 key. So you go from F up 1, and that's a half step. It's called a half step. Whole step is when you go up 2 keys from F, 1, 2. Now you can learn a lot more about scales when you get into guitar, because on the guitar, you're going to start seeing patterns visually. How a scale is mapped out, and you can really understand the whole steps and half steps if you use just one singular string and go up and down the string on the neck of the guitar. You can really figure out where those whole steps and half steps apply because you visually see them on the guitar, whereas the piano is mapped out a little bit differently. So you have F, again, a root note or 0 point. A half step would just go up 1 key. F, the root note. Let's go up to a whole step, which is 2 keys, 1, 2, boom. So that's the difference between a whole and a half step. So now let's start building out the scale based on these scale codes. So you're going to see W's, you're going to see H's, and you're going to see W pluses. We're going to get into W pluses in the different scale videos. Okay, so this is our 0 point. Now continuing the chord code for minor, it goes 0, W. So to create a W, you have to have a 0 point. And you want to go up 2 steps to create a W. So it goes 1, 2. That's the first W. So it goes 0, W. Okay, 0, 1, 2 to the next key. Then we have H, which is a half step going up 1 key, H. And we have a W again, which is 2 keys, 1, 2. Okay, and then we have a second half. So I like to break these scale codes into halves because you're going to start to see patterns between the major and the minor scale codes. And the minor scale code has WHW as the primary starter of the scale. You're going to see that, WHW. As you notice, WHW again. Okay? In the major, you're going to see WWH, and that's going to show you that it's a major scale when you see WWH. If you see WHW, it's a minor. If you see WWH, it's a major. You're going to get used to that when you start building scales from scratch. Now here we have the 0 point. Then we have whole, half, whole. Okay, now I split it in two so it's easier to see the patterns. Okay, so now we have whole, half, whole, whole. Okay, so you have to continue from where you left off. So starting at A sharp, where the little break in the code is, we're going to go whole, which is two keys, 1, 2. And then we go half, which is 1 key, then whole, whole. And now we have a full octave of the scale. So if we stretch these out into different notes, let me see if we could do this. Let me do it easier. Let me this is the minor scale. And all a scale is a sequence of notes which we want to hear. That's all it is. So if you ever get confused, just remember it's just a sequence of notes in a specific order. If you're a live musician, you might need to actually memorize those scales and memorize different scales on your keyboard. But when you're composing, you don't need to memorize every single scale for every single key. Okay? You just need to know how to formulate it. So let's zoom in a bit. And now let's build out the major scale. So we start on the 0 point. So I'm going to close my eyes and I landed on G. Okay, so let's build out the major scale starting from G. So G is our 0 point, our root note, our tonic, our home key. Now I meant to mention, I'll get into it later, but let's just continue pushing on. So the major scale, we need a 0 point, a resting point. So this code is WWH. The only difference between these two, again, minor, you can tell it's a minor by WHW. Major is WWH. That's a pattern that you're going to see. So now let's start with W. So we go up 2 keys, 1, 2. We go up 2 keys again for the next W, 1, 2. And we only go up 1 key for the H. So we're done the first half of the code. This is our 0 point, W, W, H. Okay, very simple. Now we have to continue starting at C, W, 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 H. So we're going up 2 keys each time. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And now we have, and then H at the end. And now we have the full scale and the full octave. Okay, so if you map this out in order, now different scales give you different tones and different varieties. So, you can experiment with the tones as you like, but just know that the major scale is more for film score, I found, more for traditional classic music, whereas minor scales are more the modern kind of dance and hip hop, urban pop song kind of scales. Okay, so there you have the major scale code. Okay, so that is how you apply the scale codes in real time. It doesn't matter where you are. It's just like a chord code. You can apply it right away. All right, so now the key of the song, let me define this before we end the video. The key of the song says, let's say I build out, I'm going to close my eyes again and build out a minor scale. Now this is called the natural minor also. So the natural minor scale or the minor scale. And I start on G. So this is my 0 point, and I know it's whole, half, whole. So we go up 2 steps, 1, 2, whole, half, whole, and then whole, half, whole, whole. So we go whole, half, whole, whole. So that's the minor scale. Now, if you wanted to call this the key of the song, you would call it G and then the scale you're using. So you would identify the root note or the 0 point, which is G, and then you would identify the scale you're using. So the key of the song really equals the root note plus scale name, and that equals the key of the song. So we would call this key of the song, we're writing in G minor. If I drew out major scale and the root note was G, I would call it G major. So that's how you get the key of the song. Okay, so when, that's how you identify it. So if you're wondering what the key of the song is for a specific song, you want to map out the scale first and try to identify that root note. Now, sometimes it's hard to identify the root note, so you're going to have variations in your identification, but you can also identify what's called the tonic, which is generally the first chord used in a chord progression. So if the first chord they used was the G minor chord, G, A sharp, and then D, you know that the chances are that the scale is the G minor scale and not the A, whatever this would be, scale. Okay, you know that the root note's probably the first chord of a song. It's generally how it works. Okay, so thank you for watching today. It's busyworksbeats.com. If you want to learn more about music theory, you want to go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory. Thanks for watching. It's busyworksbeats.com.